welcome to my channel. My name is Sarah and this is my little corner of YouTube where I like to share my crafty life. This is episode 2, take 2. If you had any chance last weekend, I published an episode then, and everything seemed fine when I was editing it and when I was publishing it and when I watched in my phone and on the iPad. But when I got the footage up to the TV, I noticed some strange things with the sound, and it was at the end of the episode, so it was like the sound and the image didn't match. So a few of you that saw the episode said that it was fine, but yeah, I couldn't live with it. So I took that episode down and am trying to make a new episode today, so a week later. And I think that even if you saw last week's episode, you will see some progress. And I have a new cast on, I have bought some fabric for some spring, and I have a book recommendation. So that is some new things that I didn't mention in last week's episode. And today is Sunday, February 23rd, and we are going away after lunch. So I'm trying to make this quite quick, and I don't know if that's gonna happen because I have a lot to talk about today. So first thing that I want to mention that I mentioned in my episode last week is another YouTuber that I want to recommend, and that it was talking about something in her episode that I just got my mind thinking, and that was Anna from Storhärvan. And I have met Anna in real life, and she's the sweetest person, and she has a podcast here on YouTube in Swedish. So if you speak Swedish or understand Swedish, she is a very good recommendation. I love her podcast. She's like a knitting machine, and she knits so many beautiful socks, and I love the fact that she is picking some not the patterns that everyone else is knitting. She always finds these beautiful sweater patterns and cool socks, and yeah, she's a really good inspiration. But she was talking about in her latest, or was it the episode before maybe? Yeah, she was talking about the fact that she knits a lot, and the fact that she needs and wants to knit like sweater knits is because she doesn't like casting on. And that got me thinking so much because I feel the same. I love knitting, and I think the fact that I don't knit a lot of socks and hats and stuff like that is because they don't take that long. So I need to make the decision to cast something new on. And even though I have these millions of ideas in my head about what I want to craft, I get stressed about having too many projects at the same time. But I could use a little bit more of a casting on spirit. So I had a couple of different, because sometimes it's just like, oh, I have this project, I'm just banging it out and I just want to get it finished. And to enjoy the process, it would be good to have some different projects on the go, so the projects that I really love working on doesn't go so fast because I have other stuff in between. I don't know if you are following along here or if I'm just blabbing around in something, but it really got me thinking. And the other day when I was writing with Anna on Instagram, she was like, yeah, this weekend I just took the bullet and casted a few things on, so I have a few things on my needles, and that got me so inspired. So I did that. I casted on a new project just because I want to have a project that I could bring, that I could be social with, and that is easygoing. And yeah, I'll talk more about that in upcoming or ongoing projects, but yeah, just a thought, and I thought it was a really fun thing to think about. So yeah, if you speak Swedish or understand us, there is a beautiful podcast waiting for you by Anna. Well, so let's dive into finished objects. Just like last week, I only have one finished object, and it's not as neat and tidy as it was last week when I showed it, because I have actually used it quite a lot this week. And that is that I am finished with my Hansel hat, or my half Hansel hat. This is a pattern by Gudrun Johnston, and I have knitted it in the half version just because I think that would be easier for me to wear as a scarf. I would love to make the full half version, and I might do that someday, but I think that is more, for me, more of a blanket knit, because I think it would be hard for me to wear it in a way that that it's not too bulky around my neck. But yeah, I talked about this in my latest episode. This is the half Hansel hat, and I have knitted it in lots of leftovers from different projects I've made recently. So the gray base color is Rauma Finull. I got a cone of this like medium gray one, and this is the same yarn I used in my Star Cardi. The brown black sheep color is Campus from a cardigan I knitted 2 years ago, I think, by Kristin Viola. And the beige one is Jamieson and Smith, and this is the beige color I used for my Adenia. The white one is Järbo Svensk Ull 2-ply yarn, and it's the same one as I am using now in my Spedetröja. And yeah, it's just a memory of different sweaters, and I think it will go with a lot of things in my wardrobe. So yeah, really fun project, super simple. She had a great way of changing the colors in the ends, so you didn't have to weave in any ends at the end of the project. I won't give that tip away because you have to buy the pattern, but yeah, really lovely and beautiful, and I think I'll use it a lot. And that's my only finished object. If I'm talking about what I'm wearing today, this is a old dress. I think I made it last spring, and this is the Indigo dress by Tilly and the Buttons. And it has pockets, and I wear this a lot. So the main reason I don't wear any knitwear today is because this is what I'm wearing when we are leaving after lunch today. So I just needed to make myself ready to go when I have recorded this episode. And this is made from a very thin, lightweight cotton gingham fabric from, I think, Olssons Tyger. I have made what is that called? The Friday Pattern Company's Wilder gown in the same fabric but in a olivey green color. Really good fabric for dresses, and I don't think it wrinkles that much, so you don't need to iron it a lot as you can need with a lot of cotton fabrics. And yeah, super comfy everyday dress. So let's dive into ongoing projects, and I have 4, and that's a lot for being me, but I have 4 very different projects, which feels nice, and I'll explain my thoughts around it as we go through them. First of all, I have not knitted anything at my Spedetröja. I will try to pop in a picture here somewhere. It's a pattern from an old Swedish book called Fiskartröjor by Uwe Snidare, and it's a beautiful pattern, and I talked about it in my latest episode, and I have come up and I have knitted the gores under the sleeves, and I am now in the part where I need to decide how to do with the neckline. And I haven't decided if I like the neckline as is in the pattern. I mean, I like it, but I don't know if that's the right one that I want to make, or if I want to like knit up and make a rounded like boat neckline and maybe decorate that with some silk ribbon or something, as they did on spedertröjor before. So I haven't decided yet, so I have one project that is resting. And then I have one project that I need to focus on, but it's not hard, but I took a class and I signed up for an online course at MrsWallgren's website, and it's the online course, the creative online course number 2, I think. And it's the one where you are knitting cuffs and doing all of these fun little details and building something in like a 3D effect, and it's super fun. But I am only knitting on this when I have the time to take my computer, sit down with a table, following the instruction on the screen and just diving into it. So this is not an everyday project, and I haven't done that much progress since the last week, but I have almost knitted the cuff done. I have just put some pins in the back here to stitch this down. So the cuff part is done. And yeah, it's just so beautiful, and I love this like 3D effect with the different stitches and the bubbles, and you are doing some beautiful facings on the back, so it's very neat and tidy and it's super fun. I have learned a lot. It's sometimes you think like, oh, why do you do that? That seems like unnecessary, or oh, I bet I could find an easier way to do that on. But then you go to the next step in the pattern and you're like, ah, that's why. So it's super fun, and yeah, really enjoy it. So the cuff part is done. Now I will pick up along the edges here and make some button bands, so I will be able to wear it as a cuff. And in the pattern there is also some knitted buttons that is gonna be felted, and this like a flare thing that's going on the edge that you're sewing on later. But for this cuff I don't think that I will do that. I think I will keep as is and just make the button bands, and for the next one I will do the felted like flary thing on the bottom. Super fun, very exciting, not a whip in that way that it's gonna be something that I'm gonna wear a lot, and I'm just having this to learn, and I'm having fun with it. So, ongoing project, and I am knitting this in Alice Starmore's Hebridean 2-ply yarns, and the white one, or the very light grey, white, beigey one, are Soul and Goose, and the grey one is Pebble Beach, and the purpley old pink one is Driftwood, and the golden one is Golden Plover. And this is an absolutely amazing color. I love it a lot. So yeah, super fun project to have, and when I have the time to sit by my computer one night or something, I can just go and dive into that. Speaking of Alice Starmore, and my first cast on for my year of Starmore, or Knit Starmore 2025, which I will mention is a group on Ravelry that I started, and we are now over 70 members, so it's super fun, and everyone is very nice, and we are just hanging out and showing some progress. And they have also started some threads about weaving, because Alice Starmore also have an online course and creative courses on weaving, so it's super fun and everyone is very nice, so I love that. So last time I showed you a swatch that I was making. No, I showed you the yarn that arrived from MrsWallgren's, and I ordered these 2 yarns. This is Pebble Beach and Soul and Goose, and I used these 2 to swatch for my Elizabeth of York from the Tudor Roses book. I will pop in a picture here so you know what I'm talking about. and I didn't like the swatch. I didn't feel like the pattern came out the way I wanted. I thought that Pebble Beach got so much in the background that I thought that it might be good to have a stronger color in the back, but I really was going for the like subtle, beachy, foggy vibe. So I was looking through the book of Tudor Roses, and the other pattern that I really love is this one. This is the Jane Seymour, and I swatched for it, and I love the swatch. So I decided to cast on the Jane Seymour instead. And yes, I know there will be more yarn needed for this one, but I actually have an order waiting for me in the post office right now. So I ordered a couple of extra skeins of these colors, so I will be able to make my Jane Seymour. And yeah, so I did a swatch before we went to Norway a couple of weeks ago, and this was my only project that I was working on when we were away. So at first I started exactly as the pattern said. I cast it on for the back, I knitted up, but in some ways I felt like my purling row, like the wrong side rows that was knitted rows in the yeah, I was rowing out and I was trying a lot of things. I tried to really like tighten my purl stitches and loosen my knit stitches. I tried the other way around. I tried changing needles, but I just felt like I got this very stripy effect on my big fabric, and I wasn't happy with that at all. So I decided to rip it out, do some research and some calculation, and started to knitting around instead. So yes, knitting in the round makes for more purl stitches, but it also makes my knitting more even. So that was what I decided to do. And if we are looking at this picture, I absolutely love the Jane Seymour as is, and I can see myself wearing this one to a very fancy like event or something, but not like something casual. Maybe this won't be casual anyways, but at least more casual if I didn't have like the leafy border at the hemline and in the cuffs. So I decided to skip that, and then I saw this beautiful project on Ravelry where someone had used, because in the neck part there is a smaller leafy border, just like a little collar with some tiny leaves, and I'm planning to do those, but she had made them in the cuffs on the sleeves and maybe on the hemline too. But yeah, anyway, I decided to skip the leafy parts on the bottom hem, and I'm gonna do the small leaves on the cuffs and in the neckline, because I think they are very adorable and very cute, so that will be a fun thing. So a lot of talking without showing anything, but this is my progress on my Jane Seymour. So this is a very tapered pattern. You increase a lot on the body, so this looks teeny tiny, but this is actually going where my like waist is as smallest. And yeah, I have come up to now come up to the part where I have cast it on for under the sleeves, and I'm now gonna start knitting up and doing some decreases to shape the armhole. And my cable broke. My cable, like this one, the red one, that is 55 centimeters. So right now this cable is a little bit tight, or a little bit big for me to knit comfortably. So I ordered some new cables and are waiting for them so I can start knitting the decreases without having to pull the knitting a lot. So until I get the new cable, this is gonna wait. But yeah, I just love the process, and this is very, very slow and fiddly, and I love it a lot. It's my perfect distractions for after a long day at work, just knitting a couple of rows on this one and very focused on like the texture and the fabric. And yeah, it makes me super happy. So as you see here, I have started with a stick at front, and on the sides, instead of a seam here, I have made a side stitch, so the pattern is increased along that side seam instead of having to seam it later. Love the colors, love the process, and yeah, absolutely amazing. But this is not a project I can knit on while being social, or yeah, just meeting people, or knitting on when I actually want to see what's happening on the TV. And I don't want this to go too fast, and it won't, because I have a lot of knitting left, but I want to enjoy this a lot. So what was I going with this? Yeah, so I took the plunge and actually cast it on something else.
So, editing Sarah here. I got a couple of questions on Instagram about how I knit this pattern. So, I thought I could insert the clip that I recorded for Instagram here. So, I will just pop that in here and then I will tell you about my next cast on.
So, I got some questions about how I do this color work that I have chosen to do in the round. So I have my side seam here where I have increased the pattern, and in this pattern you have both purling and knitting, and the knit stitches are knitted twisted, so in the back loop, and you are also making a cabling on every other row. So I'm a continental knitter, so I keep my yarns on my left hand, and I'm always keeping the color that I'm gonna purl closest to my work. So now I'm gonna cable. So I am lifting them up, putting the white one in the back, the gray one there, and lifting it on, knitting it, twisted, purling the white one, knitting it, twisted, and now I'm gonna move a stitch on the other direction. So I'm taking that white one, lifting it, putting the gray one on with the white one, purl, knit, purl, purl, and knit. And on the next row I'm just keeping one row plain, so I'm purling the white one and knitting the gray ones in the back loop. So for every other row there is cabling, and every other row is more of an easy and straightforward. So in my latest episode I talked about making Daniel a sweater from the Fisherman's Sweater book by Starmore. I did cast that on, and I knitted the rib, and I started knitting on it on our way in car up to Norway a couple of weeks ago, and I ripped that out. I just didn't feel like it was the most enjoyable project. I love the yarn, I love small needles, but I just hate knitting with two threads. I think it's hard. I think it's easy to drop one of the threads, and if I do that I can't live with it, so I have to go back and like pick it up, and it was kind of hurting my hands because there was a lot of stitches on teeny tiny needle and very thick yarn. So yeah, I just decided to rip that out. So the only project I actually had with me in Norway was my Seymour, so that's why I got quite a lot of work done on that one when we were away. So I was thinking about what I could make Daniel instead, And I took out a yarn that I actually got as a gift from Svarta Fåret a year ago, a year and a half ago, I can't really remember, but quite a long time ago. I got a sweater kit for Tröjan Visby, patterned by Sara Klint, that is absolutely amazing. It's a modern take on the Pippi-tröja, or the sweater that Pippi Longstocking is wearing with the stripes, and it's very beautiful. And I got the yarn for it, and then everyone else was knitting it, and I didn't feel like doing it anymore. So still want to make the sweater. I still think it's a beautiful sweater, but that yarn won't be that sweater. So I took it out and started to talk with Daniel about what he could see himself wearing. And he said that, oh, I've always wanted this like fisherman sweater that you have. And I thought this would be perfect for it. This is Ulrika Natur. So this is a DK weight yarn in this creamy white nature color and this graphite dark gray color. And it's a DK weight. And I have knitted 2 Isländergenser before, but both of them has been knitted in Rauma Finull, so a very thin yarn. So I did some calculations, and the Rauma's pattern on their website is a free pattern knitted bottom up on like 3mm needles, and yeah, that wouldn't work with this yarn. So I decided to start this top down instead. Did some calculations, and this is a super simple pattern, so you really get to know the pattern quite well. So you just knit. This is no thinking, this is just plain. This is like knitting stockinette, but there's something happening now and again. So I did start with just casting on at the neck, divided for the raglan stitches, and the pattern from Rauma has some patterns in the raglan, but I like quite a clean and not decorated raglan, so I just did a 2-stitch in the white. And since this is just knitted top down now without any short rows, I will do as I have done before on sweaters, and I actually think that gets it to be a very good fit. And that is when I have knitted, when I have knitted the balls that I have in right now, I will take this and put it on Daniel, and then I will mark where I would like to have the neckline when the ribbing is on. So maybe say that I want to like lower it to here. Then I would go down a little bit, say I want 3 centimeters of a ribbing. I will sew with my sewing machine at that point around the front. I will cut out the extra fabric, pick up the stitches around, so you have all the stitches left in the neck, and knit the color up, and that way you will have a lower neckline in the front and higher in the back without having to like think about the patterns and making that even. So I did cast this on like Monday this week, and this is a DK weight yarn. I'm a very tight knitter, so I cast it on with, let's see, 4.5mm needles, and it's going super fast. And I have now divided for the sleeves, so it looks quite small because it bunched up on a tiny needle, but it's actually not. It's actually a very good fit, and me and Daniel has almost the same like measurement around the chest. I mean, I have more in the front and he is wider, but we have pretty much the same circumference. So this will be super good and quite a loose and good sleeve. And yeah, so this is my grab and go. I can just knit. I don't need to think about it. I don't need to think about anything right now actually, because the raglan stitches is done. So I'm really glad I casted this on, and it will be a very good sweater for Daniel this spring. And this is a very lovely yarn actually. This is Ulrika Natur, as I said, from Svarta Fåren, and it's a non-superwash pure wool yarn. So it's rustic, but it's not itchy at all. So yeah, super happy with my ongoing projects. So I have the cuffs that I'm working on now and then. I have the spedertröja that is resting until I can decide what I want to do with it. I have my Seymour as a enjoyable and like this complicated knit that I just want to enjoy. And I have a simple knit. So yeah, it's quite good actually. I always feel a little bit stressed when I have too many projects on the go, but this feels like a good amount actually. So yeah. No pattern for this one except for like the chart, otherwise I've just calculated myself, so I got an even number, so the pattern made up in the end. That's my ongoing project, and I actually think we are heading along quite nicely today. So, future plans. I have a knitting project that is kind of a secret that I want to cast on pretty soon, but I want to finish Daniel's sweater before. So it's a little bit of a secret. So when I can talk about it more and show you what I'm thinking, I will do it, but it's kind of a secret until then. But yesterday I actually bribed my family to go with me to the fabric store. We don't have a fabric store quite near me here in Blekinge. We have the closest fabric store to me is in like close to Kristianstad, which is the northern part of Skåne, and it's called Gittes Tygkälla, and it's a massive fabric store an hour away by car for me. So I decided to tell the children and Daniel that hey, we can go out and eat and we can drive down to the mall that is quite close to there, and the kids wanted to go and look in the toy store, and Daniel wanted to look at something in the sports. Yeah, I just said we can make a day out of it, so I got to go pick some fabric up for spring sewing. I have really gotten the itch to start thinking about what I want to wear for spring, and I have really been going back to blue right now. I just love it. I have seen so many beautiful pictures on Instagram combining this dusty and denim blue together with brown and beige, and I absolutely love it. And I really need to make myself a couple of pants or trousers. I don't know the difference between it, but some sort of yeah, pants or trousers for work and being able to be out in the garden and doing stuff this spring. So I got this. This is a recycled cotton fabric that is quite heavy. It's not that thin and flopsy. It's a quite a heavy weight. It almost looks like denim, but it's not a denim fabric, but it's a quite heavyweight, dusty gray and white marled fabric that I think would be perfect for a pair of like very baggy and high-waisted pants that is tapered at the leg, like a little hobbity feel. So this is what this fabric will become, and this very like steely gray fabric. So that was the first one, and then I found this one. This is a little bit lighter in weight, but still an recycled cotton, so it's very soft, but yeah, not as thin as this one, but not as thick as the other one. But this one is in this very nice dusty blue and cream white color, and I'm thinking about making myself a dress with this to maybe go with my maybe not actually, now that I'm looking at it. But yeah, this will be a dress for spring that I think will be lovely to wear. Haven't decided on the pattern yet, but I got plenty, so I can make myself a new dress for spring. And then I got this one, and this is a very light denim fabric, very thin, so it's not like denim like you should make a pair of jeans out of them, but I really like this blue, and I can't decide if I'm gonna make a pair of trousers of it or like a denim dress with like some wooden buttons for spring. I think that would be lovely too. So yeah, I got these 3 fabrics from the fabric store yesterday and I'm super happy with them. So I haven't washed them yet, so I will do that and I will press them and then I will lay them on my shelf until I feel the urge to do some spring sewing, because it's very much needed. I need to take the plunge and actually make those trousers. I need some trousers in my wardrobe, so that will be the first project I take on. And as I have said before, I can spend hours and hours and hours on knitting and very much enjoying every little stitch and not minding being forced to go back and redo. But when it comes to sewing, I'm a product sewer. I want to have an all me-made wardrobe, and I love the fact that I can make the fit as I want, and that's why I do it. But I don't love the process of sewing. I love the product. So yeah, that's some future plans, ongoing, one finished, and I only have one more thing to talk about today. And that is that yesterday I got this in my mailbox. I saw an interview on Squid School on Patreon. She was doing an interview with this author that is called Esther Ruter. I don't know how to pronounce it. I think she's from England. And she has made this book called This Golden Fleece, a journey through Britain's knitted history. So it's a very interesting and fun theme on British textile and knitting history, and I got immediately excited, so I ordered it and it came yesterday in the mail, and I just love the cover. Look at this. This is just made out of different knit stitches, and it's a little sheep, and yeah, beautiful book. It's in English, but I don't mind reading in English, so I thought I could start on this yesterday, but since we went away and we came home and was pretty tired, I didn't. So this afternoon when we get back home again, I will start this book because I'm very, very interested in reading it. So yeah, just a little book recommendation, and I will promise to talk about what I think about the book, how I like it when I have gotten a few pages in. But yeah, that's pretty much all for me today. I hope to see you here in a couple of weeks. I don't like when it takes many weeks between podcasts, because it feels like I have too much to talk about then, because I really like to dive into the projects and talk about them. So my main goal is like every other 2-3 weeks, but life happens and we'll just see. So hopefully this episode is not messed up with the sound, and I can publish it to you tonight or tomorrow. So until we see each other next time, happy knitting!